Hi, I'm Jim Berry. Welcome to another edition of Miami Life. If it happens in South Florida, it matters to you and your friends. You're going to see it right here on this show. And we're going to start by talking about schools today. It's summertime for South Florida students, but there's no vacation for the people who run our public schools, and that is certainly true in Broward County. Broward is home to the 6th largest public school system in the nation, with more than 247,000 students. They're enrolled in Broward's 239 public schools and 88 charter schools. It's an A-rated district with an 89% graduation rate just last year. But Broward Schools Superintendent Howard Hepburn faces a lot of issues. Declining enrollment, that means fewer state dollars, the end of free lunches for all students, school closings, and of course, keeping students and teachers safe. We're touching on all those topics and more in a special one-on-one interview with Howard Hepburn. As the head of Florida's second largest school district, Howard Hepburn has a lot on his plate, but he was quick to rave about the signs of academic progress showing up in the test scores of Broward County public school students. The assessment scores, I guess, should be out pretty soon, if not already. What do you expect, or what have you learned so far?
I'm expecting our performance to be even higher than the previous year. As you know, just this past year, our first A in over a decade. We have no D and F schools since 1999, and we actually expect that to go even higher this year. So we've been monitoring our performance. We've done testing for the school year. So unofficially right now, we're going to keep our A. And unofficially, we expect to have no more D and F schools again for this upcoming school year.
And how does that break down in terms of the ethnic breakup?
All of our schools. So you have, as far as ethnic breakdowns, all of our students are performing well. So we monitor that. We really pour in a lot of resources, a lot of support at our schools just to make sure we can help students close the gap even faster.
You know, a lot of students, unfortunately, come to school hungry.
Yes.
And I know for the past couple of years, Broward has been blessed because you've had the free lunches.
Yes. That's
gone away. So how do you fill that gap?
Well, so we had a lot of additional funds in support of that initiative during the COVID years. And unfortunately, a lot of those funds have been depleted and run out. So we're reverting back to what we were doing before COVID, which eligible students, right, they have to fill out the paperwork. And some, you don't have to fill out the paperwork. There's some automatic qualifiers that get you that free lunch. So we're reverting back to what we were doing before COVID, where parents would fill out that paperwork to see if they're eligible to receive free and reduced lunch. But of course, no student will go hungry in our district. We have a lot of supporters and a lot of partners that are sure that every student that needs a meal will get a meal.
With enrollment declining and budget constraints, Broward is still weighing whether some public schools should be closed. And in some communities, the outcry about that has been loud. While the district is looking at repurposing some schools, Hepburn thinks one solution might be to build new ones. Your idea is, though, to build new schools and maybe funnel several schools into that, but some wonder how Broward County would be able to afford to do that.
So, you know, we have some difficult decisions to make. Our footprint, as far as the district, is too large. Just like other large school districts across the country, it's not a Broward County issue, it's a national issue. There's a decline in enrollment for various reasons, right? The spectrum of variables that are causing that is wide. And so we're certainly not different from any other school district that has to make tough decisions. And so we have to work with our communities and get them to understand the why. Also leverage other opportunities and strategies, such as if we have to consolidate, there may be some considerations. Instead of me consolidating a school or several schools into another old building, it may be feasible for us to consolidate into a newer building and build a replacement school. So the way most school districts do that, even when we build a new school without these issues, is that you have to go out and borrow money. Just like when you go buy a home, you go to the bank and you borrow money and you pay that mortgage off. It's the same thing for us as school districts too. Could be a bond issue? No, not necessarily a bond issue. We go out and we borrow money for large facility projects all the time, and we pay that down over years, just like any personal mortgage that people leverage to buy their own home.
Last year, metal detectors were installed at all Broward public high schools. Hepburn says that's just one measure put in place to make sure students are safe.
Yeah, so we have so many layers of security. Number one, see something, say something. That's a simple strategy that many people leverage to let us know if something's going to happen at our school, somebody has bad intent. You have Fortify Florida, which people use often to let us know if they see something online. You have our Safer Watch Alyssa's alert system, where that's a electronic panic alert system on your cell phone and also on the desktop. And then we also have our metal detectors at our high schools, which all of our high school students are screened before they come into the building, just to make sure they don't have anything they're not supposed to have on campus. Oftentimes, they're not planning to do something, but sometimes you make a mistake. They're kids, and we want to make sure they don't make that mistake on our campus. And then coming up this school year, we're adding an additional layer where all of our staff members, be it in schools or in administrative buildings, will have panic alert badges to actually help with a quicker response from law enforcement. If they see something, if they're concerned about something, they just click that badge and they will get a response from admin and also first responders and police in the area.
So the response can be quick.
Exactly. So we have, if something is in the area that they feel like is going to do harm to our campus. So.
Well, Broward's public schools are joining in the artificial intelligence revolution. In the second part of our conversation, we asked the superintendent about what bringing AI into the classroom can mean for students, and also how he navigates the politics of education. I know you're a very busy guy, so let's get into some of the breaking news. I understand that Microsoft and AI are coming to Broward schools.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Yes, Microsoft and AI are coming to Broward County Public Schools. As far as K through 12 organizations, we have the largest agreement with Microsoft for Copilot, which is their AI software. So we'll be leveraging that across our entire district, not just with staff, but also with our students.
I have to tell you, Howard, I'm an old school guy, and sometimes I wonder if artificial intelligence prevents kids from developing real intelligence. Tell me why I'm wrong.
You're wrong, and I'll tell you why. So now our kids are very well resourced. They've already been using artificial intelligence, and sometimes without their knowledge. Now it's about creating an environment where they can apply all that knowledge they're gaining from resources. So AI just helps them do that better. It's not bypassing the critical thinking. It's providing better resource, better access to information, so they can actually create more learning opportunities for themselves.
Then AI is not going to be taking the test for them.
No, it's not going to be taking the test for them.
Okay, I'm glad.
Absolutely not.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. Broward students and teachers find themselves caught in the middle of education becoming politicized. Florida lawmakers have passed a flurry of bills to purge so-called woke ideology from state classrooms, even going as far as banning some books. How do you shield the students from the politics of it to make sure that they're getting what you feel they should?
We are very student-centered as an organization. Everything that we do is concentrated on our students and ensuring that they have quality learning opportunities, quality experiences, and quality exposure. So they're taking the learning outside of the classroom and oftentimes applying the learning inside the classroom in different situations and scenarios that equate to real-world situations or industry needs. And so we just stay focused on students. We're not politicians, we're educators. And we just stay focused on students. And that's what I prioritize. That's the message that I send to my team and my staff, just to make sure we're focused on the needs of our kids day in and day out.
But a lot of politicians are putting pressure on you to ban books and ban certain curriculums, which deprives students, frankly, of understanding history and other things that are important.
And we deal with those situations as they arise. We're very good about receiving that information from the state, putting in the digestible bites just to make sure we're following the law. But nonetheless, we work with a lot of partners just to make sure our students are well equipped to meet the industry needs.
Hepburn has high praise for the 14,000 plus teachers in Broward schools, but their average salary is 6% below the national average. We asked him what's being done to improve that. And I've talked to some teachers who say, you know what, I can't afford to do this. I got to move elsewhere. So how do you deal with it?
And I understand the concern. One of our priorities is to any cost savings that we identify, we try to pour that into the buckets of salaries, just to make sure our teachers are well compensated. Also, thanks to the voters of Broward County, they voted to approve a referendum a few years ago, which helps to supplement teacher salaries on an average of about $10,000 for our teachers. So there's a spectrum between that, but on average, it's about $10,000. So salaries are a priority for us, and anything that we can do to increase salaries with cost savings, we prioritize that every chance that we get.
Hepburn's contract was recently extended for another 5 years. This education lifer says his goals will remain the same.
I think the toughest challenge is to ensure that everybody in our system is totally focused on the betterment of our students, totally focused on providing the best learning opportunities, or if they're not directly in contact with a kid, what they do should be able to facilitate those opportunities at our schools. So we stay student-centered all day, every day. Every decision that we make, from facilities, from food service, from transportation to the classroom, it's all student-centered.
Howard Hepburn, thanks for stopping by the show. Up next on Miami Life, a 20-40-60 for the dads. We talk to generations of fathers here in South Florida about how they view their role in raising their children. You'll want to see this conversation coming right up. And welcome back. Well, of course, this Sunday is a very special day. It's Father's Day. And that's why we thought it would be a great opportunity to talk about dads in a special 20-40-60 edition on fatherhood. This is going to be a great event held this Saturday in Miami. It's called Brunch with Kings, celebrating fatherhood. That event will happen near downtown Miami. And joining us today is the founder of the group that is co-sponsoring it. His name is Jefferson Noel. He's the youngest member of this illustrious group. And also with us, two generations of dads from the same family. Clark Baptiste, who is looking pretty alert for a guy who has a young daughter who keeps him up probably, and his dad, Richard Baptiste. Thank you all for being with us.
Thank you, Mr. James.
So I have to ask you, Richard, do you think that fatherhood today is tougher than it is now?
Definitely, yes.
Why?
Really tough. It's back then, you know, we mostly listen to the parents, right? Now kids, yeah, mostly you have to fight with them, you know, to convince them, you know, when they're trying to do what they're not supposed to do. Especially regarding the law. It's not easy because they got, you know, with the technology,
yeah,
they got too many things, they learn too many things.
Too many things to distract them.
Yes, and then, you know, they try to argue with you. You know, make the point what they say is right, you know, and then they always tell you, everything you say, this is that back then, you know, that's the whole generation.
That's old school.
Yeah,
right.
That's the problem. It's not easy.
Yeah. What about that, Clark?
He's not lying, because I work at an elementary school, and I could definitely see the difference, you know, in how the kids react to their parents, and let's say it's the parents too. A lot of times the parents are more tolerable now. There's no, like, how would I say, the structure. There's no strict discipline as it was back, you know, back in my day where my parents was raising me. Yeah. You know, I was blessed to have the best of both worlds because I have a little brother named Andy. He's about 7 years younger than me, and I could definitely see my parents were more lax with him than with me.
Do you find yourself interacting with your daughter and thinking, man, this is what my dad used to do with me?
Yes, there's certain things like, you know, just giving my daughter attention and, you know, teaching her the basics in life, you know, the essentials in life early on. You know, I'm pretty sure my parents, I don't remember what they taught me when I was a toddler, but I can, you know, like right now, anytime I go to the store with my daughter and we're walking to the parking lot, I say, hey, what do we do before we cross the street? And she knows. We hold mommy and daddy's hand, look both ways. And it is those things that I think is a real key, you know, to teach these children nowadays.
Sure.
Yeah.
So Jefferson, your group is co-hosting this event. Why did you think this was an important topic to tackle right now?
Because fatherhood is deeply important, and I believe that fathers are irreplaceable in our society. And as the founder of Barbershop Speaks, we've been hosting conversations for the past 9 years, and I have a lot of conversations with fathers, especially this past year when we held what's called a series called the Fatherhood Enrichment Initiative. And month after month, week after week, I would have conversations with fathers, and they would express that they are doing the best they can, they're hardworking, but they don't get the appreciation or love that they deserve. And so when Anthony Robinson of the Overtown Children and Youth Coalition said, let's do something together to celebrate and honor fathers, I said, let's do it, Brunch with Kings, because men, they deserve a place where they feel that appreciation and love. You know, my father has meant a lot in my life. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us, but he molded me into who I am. I can say that I am a speaker, I'm an educator because of him, because of so much he poured into me. Now I feel a responsibility to pour out into the world.
That's really enriching for me to hear you say that. because we know the stats that when it comes to black fathers especially, many are not involved in the home. And so I wonder, Richard, what kind of impact you think that leaves on the kids who grow up without their dad right there?
Yeah, it's not easy for them. It's not easy. If you think most of the kids who got in trouble, always monoparental, say they raised with mother, dad not here for them, that's causing a problem. Because the mother cannot deal with this, Imagine you got 2, 3 children.
It's tough.
It's tough for the mother,
What's the one thing you wanted him to know?
I mean, I taught him a lot of things, like I made a role model for him. He follow me. I try to teach him. I tell him the way I, taught him. He got a daughter. He follow me anyway. That's why sometimes, like my granddaughter, when she's at home, they don't want her to watch TV. When she come over to my house, I let her watch TV a little bit. As a grandfather, my son, he knows.
Sure.
He knows what to do.
Different approach. So it's funny, my grandfather was the father figure in my family, and I tell this story a lot, and I didn't realize the impact he had on me till years later when I became a dad. And I remember being in the car when our kids were young, and my wife was giving me the business about something, I'm not sure what. And so right when I was about to say, okay, enough, I was about to snap, in the rearview mirror I saw our daughter looking at this interaction. At that point I went, because I want my daughter to know that in her relationship she'll have a voice. Yes. And so I wonder if you had that kind of moment, Clark, where you kind of flash back to when your dad was around with your parents, and you thought, this is how I'm a dad now because of what I saw him do.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. When I first got married and I was living with my wife, you know how they ask you, hey, can you fix this? And you're like, yeah, I got it. You have a timeline in your head, and they have a timeline. Yeah. And if you don't get it done in time, it's like all the bickering and banter, like, hey, why didn't you do this? And I would get annoyed, and I'm like, I take a breather. I'm like, I just remember the times with my dad and my mom, had those type of interaction, and my dad would just basically smooth talker, come on, baby.
Not him.
This guy, he's a smooth talker.
One more thing I want to get in real quickly, and I think it's important. I read something that said that there's a myth about black fathers, and that is that they're not involved. In fact, the reality is that the stats show that black fathers, Jefferson, are more involved than others.
Yeah, according to an article by the Huffington Post in 2017, they spoke about how black fathers are reading to their children at a higher rate than their counterparts, and it's actually very true. And I have a lot of friends who have kids, and they're constantly asking me to buy books for their kids. And I don't know why they're asking me to buy books for their and they're reading all the time to their kids, and I see it on a personal level through my personal experience, and the article just reinforced what we already knew.
Yeah, well, the organization 100 Black Men, of course, has the motto, what they see is what they'll be.
Yeah. Right.
And so you guys are great examples. Certainly, Jefferson, you become what your father saw that you could be, and for you to be here with your son is living proof that he got a lot of those lessons that you taught him.
Yeah, but what I like with him, he's still listening to me.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a gift.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he still listens to me.
Okay.
Doesn't matter you got 4 children, but he still take my advice.
Yeah.
He doesn't really do things without asking me for some advice.
Okay.
And he's very calm, very humble. Yeah. When mom talking, mama yelling, he never raised his voice over his mom.
He got that from you.
Mom, why are you yelling? And I say, Mom, he's right. Why are you yelling?
And you don't have to yell. That's the bottom line.
No.
That's important. No. Yeah. Neither did my grandfather, and that's why I'm cool and calm most of the time. Guys, thank you so much for sharing this. And again, this event, Brunch with King, celebrating fatherhood, is happening this Saturday afternoon. You can find details about it on our website at cbsmiami.com. And go dads, keep doing what you do. All right, still to come, why big layoffs and budget cuts at NOAA have many people worried about the department being ready for hurricane season. That story when Miami Life returns. Welcome back. Former employees of NOAA are worried that drastic budget cuts have left the weather tracking agency vulnerable just as hurricane season is beginning. Here's Steve Majeri with that story.
Not too long ago, Andy Hazelton was gathering data in a plane for NOAA. He had just joined the agency in October, but he says he was let go in February.
For public safety and what we do, it matters for everybody. Like I said, it's not really political. Not just hope.
John Cortinas says he retired from the NOAA office in Virginia Key earlier this year. He says he saw that cuts were being made and didn't like the direction that the agency was going.
I was worried about what was happening or what we see happening today, and I didn't want to be a part of that.
According to CBS News, about 2,200 NOAA employees have been fired or took buyouts since January. About 500 worked at the National Weather Service, which oversees the National Hurricane Center.
We need research every day.
The cuts are why there was a protest in downtown Miami.
The work we do in a lot of ways pays for itself and is really one of the most efficient things out there.
Many of these cuts happened just before the start of hurricane season. And now that we're in hurricane season, many of these protesters feel that these cuts make them more vulnerable. CBS News asked the National Hurricane Center's director, Mike Brennan, about the organization's preparedness for storm season.
We're fully operational, ready for the hurricane season. Our products and services and warnings are going to go out as they always do.
Take a stand. Walk the science across the land.
But protesters here feel these cuts are an attack on science.
To think that our federal government would even consider cutting scientific research that could literally be life-saving for so many millions of people who live along the coastline in Florida, and this is just appalling and shocking.
The Trump administration says the cuts are part of a broader strategy to cut federal spending and streamline the federal workforce. In downtown Miami, Steve Majeri, CBS News, Miami.
Thank you, Steve. We'll be right back. All right, let's check out the feedback from you, the Miami Life audience. And our recent coverage of the beginning of hurricane season definitely had you talking. One viewer sarcastically wrote, "Luckily, the National Weather Service is fully staffed and operational," referring to the White House leaving the agency short-staffed. Other viewers said to not expect FEMA to help, leaving comments like, "You better be ready because you do not have FEMA anymore." However, our story on street preacher William Torres struck a more positive chord. One viewer said, "Young homie, ringing the bell." And another viewer said, "We need more content like this." Good news. Keep sending us your comments and feedback to cbsmiami@cbs.com. That's going to do it for this week's edition of Miami Life. We'll see you every Thursday at 6:30 on the stream. You can watch all Miami Life episodes on demand on our YouTube channel. And again, thanks to all the dads out there. 2 thumbs up. Happy Father's Day.